for the parties to obviously finalize their negotiations, but also for the state to conclude its negotiations. We've always concluded or conducted ourselves and tried to finalize these negotiations in good faith with the state, and I have no doubt whatsoever that we will ultimately find each other.
South Africa's Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen says his department is well on track to vaccinate 80% of the national herd against foot and mouth disease by December. Steenhuisen is part of a delegation appearing before Parliament's Agriculture Portfolio Committee to provide continuous updates on the outbreak and interventions to control the spread of the disease. Steenhuisen says sufficient vaccines are available for first and secondary dosage.
It is our intention to have vaccinated 80% of the national herd by the month of December. I believe we're on track to do that, and as we committed, we are procuring vaccines now in large batches, and there will be more than enough vaccine to not only do the initial doses, but to do the secondary doses. So I don't want anybody to be under any illusion or misapprehension that there will not be enough vaccines to do the initial shot as well as the booster shot.
South Africa's Border Management Authority Commissioner Dr. Michael Masiabado says they are winning the fight against illegal immigration at the Bay Bridge port of entry in the Limpopo province. He was speaking during an oversight visit by the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber. Masiabado says the deployment of law enforcement, body cameras and drones has decreased the number of people apprehended trying to cross the border illegally by nearly 50%.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are very much ready to be able to handle the Easter operations. And in that instance, we can say that our systems are fairly, up and running to make sure that we are able to process all the people that will be coming through. We will be running our operations for 10 days, starting from the 31st of March until the 9th of April. And on that basis, we will definitely deal with the exit leg, with the Apex Day being Thursday just before Good Friday, and ultimately the return leg, the Apex Day being Monday. And therefore, we are very much ready to receive all the people that will be exiting South Africa and those that will be coming back.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will continue its attacks on Iran and Hezbollah-related targets in Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Force reported what it called wide-scale strikes on Tehran yesterday. It claimed to have struck the main security headquarters of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards. In a video statement earlier, Netanyahu explained why both Israel and the US would continue their strikes.
We are crushing the missile program and the nuclear program to the core and continuing to inflict heavy damage on Hezbollah. Just a few days ago, we eliminated 2 more Iranian nuclear scientists, and this is not the end. We will protect our vital interests in every circumstances.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Julani Tulo Mwepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headline, Olympic champion Sifan Hassan withdraws from the London Marathon due to injury. And Jannik Sinner surpassed Novak Djokovic's 10-year record for most consecutive sets won. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It is 12:05 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Coming up in this hour, concerns continue to mount over the credibility of recent elections in the Republic of Congo. And a member of Gauteng's organised crime unit, Sergeant Fanny Nkosi, has concluded his testimony at the Madlanga Commission after spending 6 days in the hot seat. I'll stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally.
Big conversations about Africa's climate future are coming to Johannesburg.
Africa's future is on the agenda. Don't miss your place in the conversation.
Channel Africa, in partnership with Wits Business School, presents Africa Matters. Climate change, financing Africa's recovery on the 25th of March. Join us live.
We are excited to be broadcasting live this Wednesday at the Africa Matters Summit.
Do join us there. It's going to be a very wonderful gathering of Africans.
Broadcasting directly from Wits Business School. Real conversations, real solutions.
So join the conversation.
Africa Matters.
Be part of the conversation.
Only on Channel Africa. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo. 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
A member of Gauteng's organised crime unit, Sergeant Faninkosi, has concluded his testimony at the Madlanga Commission after spending 6 days in the hot seat. Now, among the evidence presented was an exchange between Nkosi and a journalist. It is further alleged that a payment was made, raising concerns about professional conduct, confidentiality and the boundaries between journalists and sources. Now, we want to know, how should journalists ensure they keep to journalistic ethics? I'll share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo. 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:08 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Now, tomorrow, Channel Africa will break new ground with the much-anticipated launch of the station's first ever Africa Matters Summit. Now, the summit, taking place in Johannesburg, South Africa, will bring together thought leaders, researchers and other stakeholders to navigate the challenges around climate change. A theme of the summit is financing Africa's recovery. Tshepiso Makwetla will be facilitating panel 3, titled From Dialogue to Delivery: What Must Change Now?
It asks pertinent questions. It has clear resolutions on what we're looking from the summit. The core question is how Africa mobilizes, structures and deploys climate finance at scale, both equitably and sustainably. And let us be honest about it, the scale of impact. I mean, climate change is already costing Africa between 7 and 15% of GDP annually. That directly threatens the ambitions of Agenda 2063. I mean, a lot of what Africa is working towards hinges on Agenda 2063. The transition is already underway. The only question before us is whether Africa shapes that transition or is shaped by it. So as Channel Africa, we're taking up the cudgels by spearheading the conversation through this inaugural Africa Matters Summit to help answer that question. I mean, across the continent, we are witnessing a decisive shift from what is termed soft law declarations to hard law enforcement. Research from Wits University, our own partners for this inaugural Africa Matters Summit, already shows that climate resilience is fast becoming a legal prerequisite for the investment. So I'm just saying there is an action plan underway. The African Union's climate change and resilient development strategy gives us a common African position. We are at the forefront of what is going to shape that future. Climate commitments cannot live in environment ministries alone. You know, the silo mentality that not just governments, but those who interact with governments tend to have. We must understand that climate commitments must shape industrial policy, trade frameworks, and mineral beneficiation strategies, for instance. Climate policy is now economic policy. The African Development Bank is also warning against policy decoupling. So everything has to work together for the greater good of the African people. The task is formidable, but it's not insurmountable. So that's exciting, that challenge that we're taking on.
And that was my colleague Tshepiso Makwetla. The United Nations Weather Agency is warning that the planet's climate is more out of balance than ever before. The World Meteorological Organization has released its State of the Global Climate 2025 report, revealing record-breaking greenhouse gas levels, ocean heat and glacier melt. Channel Africa's Lebogang Mabange reports.
The WMO's annual report, produced in collaboration with meteorological agencies, climate research institutions, and UN partners, gives a stark picture of the climate crisis. Nandita Surendran, chief of the WMO Strategic Communication Office, explains.
The State of Climate report is our annual check-in a sense, on the state of the global climate, key climate indicators, and their impacts. This comprehensive report is produced by WMO in collaboration with national meteorological and hydrological services agencies, international data centers, climate research institutions, and of course, UN partners.
The report shows that 2025 was among the hottest years ever recorded, with the past decade marking the hottest 11 years in history. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide reached levels in 2024, and concentrations continue to rise. Antonio Guterres, UN Secretary General, warned about the implications.
The state of the global climate is in a state of emergency. Planet Earth is being pushed beyond its limits. Every key climate indicator is flashing red. That is the clear message of the latest report from the World Meteorological Organization. The report confirms that the Earth's energy imbalance, the gap between heat absorbed and heat released, is the highest on record. In other words, our planet is trapping heat faster than it can shed it. Greenhouse gases concentrations are higher than at any point in hundreds of thousands of years.
WMO's Deputy Executive Secretary Cole Barrett highlighted the rising temperatures and the long-term impact on land and oceans.
This report confirms that 2025 was the second or third hottest year on record, depending on the data set used. It was about 1.43 degrees C above the 1850 to 1900 baseline. Between 2015 and 2025, we experienced the hottest 11 years on record. In 2025, our glaciers continued to retreat and ice continued to melt. The warming ocean and melting land-based ice are driving the long-term rise in global mean sea level rise.
Barrett says these findings underscore the need for early warnings and life-saving forecasts to help vulnerable communities adapt.
These findings inspire us to work harder to get life-saving forecasts and early warnings into the hands of those who can protect lives and livelihoods, identifying trends that can inform planning and decision-making. And this is why we monitor the state of the climate.
The WMO warns that the Earth's energy imbalance caused by rising greenhouse gases is accelerating planetary warming, with oceans absorbing the majority of excess heat. Scientists caution that the consequences for human populations, especially those living on low-lying coasts or dependent on marine resources, could be severe if action is not urgently stepped up. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Lebogang Mabange.
Keep Africa in your hands. Connect to our website for all your news, sports, and cultural updates. channelafrica.co.za. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:15 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. South Africa's Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, along with the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Michael Masiapato, conducted a ministerial oversight visit to the Beitbridge port of entry in Musina in the country's Limpopo province. Now, the visit formed part of the BMA's preparations for the upcoming Easter period, one of the busiest travel seasons across South Africa's ports of entry. Channel Africa's reporter Michael Mbewe has more.
During the visit, the Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Leon Schreiber, assessed operational readiness, evaluated systems and personnel deployment, and was satisfied that adequate measures were in place to ensure the efficient movement of travelers while maintaining border security. In a message shared with the media, the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Dr. Michael Masiapato, confirmed the oversight visit.
As the Border Management Authority, today on the 23rd of March 2026, we received the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, at Beitbridge Border Post to Zimbabwe. He came through to ensure that we are very much ready to implement the 2026 Easter operational plan. So indeed, as part of his visit, he has been able to observe all of the various areas of our preparations, and on that basis, we confirmed to him that we are very much ready to receive all the different types of travelers as they come through into the port for the purposes of processing them.
Dr. Masiapato further gave assurance that all necessary systems were in place to manage the anticipated influx of travelers to ensure smoother operations.
We have set up various additional processing areas to ensure that we are able to deal with the volumes that will be coming through at the port and make sure that there is no any further delays. We have also firmed up our relationship with various other law enforcement structures, including the traffic authorities, particularly in the management of the corridor, so that there is no any congestion or there is no any subversion of the actual law.
The BMA has also recorded notable progress in reducing illegal migration, attributed to the interventions implemented to address the challenge. Dr. Masiapato elaborates.
In terms of the issues around illegal migration, yes, we just want to confirm that there has been a decline in terms of the numbers of people that had been attempting to enter South Africa illegally. In the 2024-2025 festive period, we have seen around 60,000 individuals that were intercepted attempting to enter the country illegally. And then in the 2025-2026, we have seen a decline of that by 50% to around 25,000 to 30,000. So that is a demonstration that the deterrence that we have put on the table as the Border Management Authority, we have been able to have some bit of success.
On the movement of children without the custody of their parents, Dr. Masiapato said the BMA will work closely with the Department of Social Development to safeguard unaccompanied children identified at the border, while urging parents not to entrust minors to unauthorized individuals for cross-border travel.
In terms of the movement of children, we just want to confirm that as the Border Management Authority, we will be working very closely with the Department of Social Development, wherein we are going to be handing over any children that get identified in the ecosystem and make sure that they are taken care of by the Department of Social Development. However, we want to call upon parents to make sure that they do not give their children to some individuals to actually cross the border with them, because that is not going to be allowed or acceptable.
Corruption at ports of entry will also not be tolerated following the recent dismissal of 50 immigration officers.
When it comes to issues of corruption, we want to confirm that BMA continues to push a none or zero tolerance when it comes to corruption. And to that extent, yes, we have fired over 50 immigration officers who were found to have subverted the legislative framework. And on that basis, we have around 38 that are currently undergoing disciplinary processes. So on that basis, we can confirm that the work that we are doing through the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum is bearing fruit. We are able to identify people that are very problematic in the ecosystem, and the intention is to take them out of the value chain.
Michael Mbewe, Channel Africa News, Johannesburg.
Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. Big conversations about Africa's climate future are coming to Johannesburg.
Africa's future is on the agenda. Don't miss your place in the conversation.
Channel Africa, in partnership with Wits Business School, presents Africa Matters. Climate change, financing Africa's recovery on the 25th of March. Join us live.
We are excited to be broadcasting live this Wednesday at the Africa Matters Summit.
Do join us there. It's going to be a very wonderful gathering of Africans.
Broadcasting directly from Wits Business School. Real conversations, real solutions.
So join the conversation.
Africa Matters.
Be part of the conversation.
Only on Channel Africa. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 21 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our concerns are mounting over the credibility of recent elections in the Republic of Congo, where reports of low voter turnout, alleged irregularities, and a widespread boycott have sparked debate both locally and internationally. Our incumbent president Denis Sassou Nguesso was declared the winner, but critics argue the process was deeply flawed, citing claims of ballot stuffing, voter suppression and restricted communications during the vote. Now, to unpack these developments and what they mean for the future of democracy in the country, we are joined by activist and social entrepreneur Joël Luemba. Joël, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu. It's a pleasure to talk to you as usual.
Now, Joël, reports and viral videos showing alleged vote buying involving individuals linked to President Denis Sassou Nguesso to his party. What do you make of these claims and how credible are they?
Yeah, so this is, dear Lulu, this is a confirmation of what we've been saying for many years, and even during my last interview. The video that are circulating right now online explain and show the reason why the internet was actually cut off during the election, because Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso and his camp did not want the Congolese people to expose the fraud that was happening during the election. The videos in questions have been verified. They are all legit, and some of the people actually in the video have been identified as well as members of Denis Sassou Nguesso's camp.
Now, what now? What is your, the response with regards to the African Union observers who said the elections met democratic standards? What exactly does that mean? And what should international observer missions be doing differently in situations like this?
Exactly, that's a great question, Lulu. This declaration from the African Union observers laid by the former president of Ghana, Mr. Nana Addo, is a complete shame. Mr. Nana Addo had the courage to declare that the democratic requirements for the elections were made. And yet, when the internet was actually interrupted, Mr. Nana Addo never said anything, no statement for the African Union. When the delegates, the polls agents from political leaders were violated, assaulted, no declaration from the African Union, nor the observers that were sent. This just shows that many African leaders and the African Union are only interested in protecting their own interests and not serving the people. And that's the reason why we have actually taken the decision to report these irregularities, not just from the Congolese government, but the African Union to international institutions, in order to put pressure and remind us that as leaders, as organizations, we have the responsibility to serve the law, to serve the people, and not our friends and our interest.
You've spoken about frustration over, governance and corruption. How deep are these issues in the country today?
These issues are very much deep. This explains the reason why the country has been in this state for 40 years. For 40 years, and the great abstention of the Congolese people is the expression of their reaction regarding what you just mentioned, because they've been enduring this injustice, enduring oppression for over 40 years. And this abstention was a way for them to actually say that we are fed up, we want real change, we are not your slaves. We are in a democratic country, and it is time for us to be able to live the life that we deserve. And that's the reason why we are contacting, there is an open letter that will actually be addressed to the president of France, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, whose country is a great partner of the Congolese people. Another letter will be addressed to Mr. Donald Trump, Okay, and copies of the letters will be sent to the respective embassies in the Republic of Congo. And on top of that, we are organizing on international, a global march of liberty all around the world in order to say that we are not going to allow Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso to have another 5 years in power to oppress the Congolese people.
Now, do you think there will be some sort of reaction?
There will be reactions because we've already seen what has happened during the elections. When we launched the campaign to boycott the elections, we say that we are for the elections if the democratic preconditions are made. Otherwise, we are going to boycott it. Many people made fun of it, including people from Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso's camp. But today we have the results. They've just endured the biggest abstention in Congolese election history. So that just tells you that people are now gathering the courage to speak up and do the things that they were not able to do before because of fear. And on the international level, we have been discussing with international institutions that are also concerned about what's happening in the Republic of Congo. So we are getting a lot of reaction. We are getting a lot of reactions, and there is a lot of meetings that are actually on the way in order to take actions and end what's happening in the Republic of Congo.
Now, you mentioned earlier that there were AU observers who were present. What about other countries or other regions? I mean, France, the European Union, were there any observers coming from that part of the world in any other place?
Wonderful, Lulu. Wonderful question. The European Union actually refused to send the observers because they stated that the democratic requirements were not met, Lulu. Because in order for you to vote, you need to have a database of the voters, and the majority of the people that actually were called to vote, many of them passed away. Some were even assassinated by the same government of Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso a few months ago when he released his private militia, the DGSP, this military force that is in charge of protecting the president. He released them in order to try and kill young people just a few months ago, which is against the law. So the very people that passed away received cards in order to go vote. So how can you rely on such database and have democratic elections? That's the reason why the EU said, no, we're not going to be part of this because what is happening there is nothing but a fraud.
Guido, Joël, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. And hopefully we'll be able to chat with regards to the Global March of Liberty, when it's taking place, when it's closer to the time, and take it from there. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update.
It was a pleasure.
That's activist and social entrepreneur Joël Luemba joining us on the line. It is 12:30 and our news headlines up next.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. Making headlines, the ruling party candidate in Benin's upcoming presidential election has vowed to create municipal police forces in northern border towns to defend against persistent attacks from jihadist groups. No plea agreement has been reached between the defense and the state in the attempted murder case against Bellarmine Mugabe, son of late former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe, and his co-accused Tobias Matanodze. And finally, Iran has fired a salvo of missiles overnight at central and southern Israel. At least one hit central Tel Aviv, causing damage. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Let's start off with athletics. Olympic champion Sifan Hassan has withdrawn from April's London Marathon because of an Achilles injury. The Dutch athlete, who won gold at the 2024 Paris Olympics in a games record time, sustained the injury when training on a treadmill 6 weeks ago. She hoped to recover in time to race in London but has accepted defeat. Hassan is one of the most decorated long-distance runners in history, having also won gold medals in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. With a subsequent success in 2024, the Ethiopia-born athlete became the first woman to win Olympic golds over 5,000, 10,000 meters and the marathon. The 2026 edition of the London Marathon takes place on the 26th of April. South African Sports Confederation and Olympic Committee SASCOC High Performance Manager Leon Fleischer has confirmed that Team South Africa will send a squad of 109 athletes to the upcoming Commonwealth Games in Glasgow from the 23rd of July to the 2nd of August. Swimming and athletics are expected to spearhead the country's medal charge, with both federations carrying strong prospects. Fleischer emphasized that the Games come at a crucial stage of South Africa's high-performance program, describing the multi-sport spectacle as an important benchmark on the road to the Los Angeles Olympic Games.
For these Commonwealth Games, there's only 10 sport. And we were very glad. We were very upset they dropped hockey and rugby because it was also important for us. But be that as it may, we're very happy that athletics and swimming have stayed in. We're taking a very strong athletics, swimming, para-athletics, para-swimming team, hopefully, pending qualification. And normally people that do well at a Commonwealth Games normally perform at an Olympic Games 2 years later. So the timing is good. Same time of the year as the Games are going to be in LA in 28. Obviously weather a bit different. Glasgow is very well known to be very rainy. But we are very excited. We look.
On to football news. Senegal midfielder Idrissa Gueye says his side deserve to be Africa Cup of Nations champions, despite CAF's decision to strip them off the title and award it to Morocco. Senegal beat Morocco 1-0 in extra time in January's final in Rabat, but CAF punished the team for a 15-minute walk-off during the match, overturning the result. Gueye, who captained Senegal in place of the suspended Kalidou Koulibaly, said he was even willing to hand back the medals if it eased tensions, but insisted titles are won on the pitch, not in offices. The federation has appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, though Gueye said he would have preferred not to contest the ruling. Now, tennis news. Jannik Sinner surpassed Novak Djokovic's 10-year record for most consecutive sets won at ATP Masters 1000 events by dismantling Frenchman Corentin Moutet at the Miami Open. Italian world number 2 Sinner recorded his 25th and 26th straight sets at the sport's highest level of tournaments below the Grand Slams in a commanding 71 minutes 6-1, 6-4 victory. And finally, boxing news. Jake Paul is targeting a blockbuster bout with Francis Ngannou as his next step in the ring. The YouTube star turned professional fighter stunned many when he lasted 6 rounds against former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua in December. Ngannou, the former UFC heavyweight champion, has already tested himself in boxing, pushing Tyson Fury over 10 rounds before being stopped by Joshua in 2. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Nwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. The Morning Switch Weekend. With the Shy Guy.
I Show Speed, often called Speed, who is a popular American YouTuber and live streamer known for his high-energy personality, loud reactions, and unpredictable humor. He visited Ethiopia, and he was shocked what he found out, actually, when he got to Ethiopia. He got to find out that, they don't use the Gregorian calendar. That is, we are in 2026 right now. And he got to find out they are in 2018.
2018.
Now you trolling me.
It's 2026. No.
It ain't 2026.
Wait, hold on. Wait, we in the past? Ronaldo is still in Real Madrid. Everything is in the past here.
Oh man, how shocked the Speed was. He went back in time.
Saturday and Sunday mornings belong to the Morning Switch. 3 to 6 a.m. Central African Time. Across Africa, communities rise with the promise of clean water and clean sanitation. The African Union's 2026 theme calls us to action.
It's about mobilizing real commitments, securing climate-resilient water and sanitation projects, and ensuring that water becomes a driver of sustainable development and prosperity across the continent.
A landmark moment, not only for Africa, but for the global movement for access to safe water for all.
Assuring sustainable water availability for every home, every village, every nation. This is the Africa we want.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon, I'm Nosipho Zuma. In your business news this hour, the Nature Conservancy, a U.S.-headquartered global environment group, says it is in talks with 3 African nations to seal debt swaps worth a combined $500 million to secure cash for preservation of key ecosystems. The Conservancy's head of Africa, Ademola Ajakbe, says debt for nature swaps help poorer countries reduce debt payments in return for conservation commitments. Both Seychelles and Gabon have used them over the last decade, but there have been none since Donald Trump's return to the White House last year curtailed crucial U.S. support. Ajakba says organizations that have helped pioneer the schemes, such as the Nature Conservancy, are now working with multilateral development banks, private insurers, and investment funds to kickstart them again. Namibia has turned down applications from Elon Musk's satellite internet provider Starlink for a telecommunications service license and access to radio spectrum. Now, this is according to a notice in the Southern African country's government gazette, which did not say why Starlink's applications were declined. The notice says Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia could reconsider their decisions on its own motion or on a petition filed by an aggrieved party within 90 days. Starlink operates in several African countries but has faced regulatory challenges in others and resistance from state telecoms monopolies. A spokesperson for the Namibian regulator says a statement will be issued later. South Africa's Motor Industry Staff Association, MISA, says it agrees with Deputy President Paul Mashatile that workers need support to adapt to artificial intelligence. Mashatile is challenging labour federations to develop a digital workers' charter. He warns that AI can improve efficiency but demands new skills and it could reshape jobs. MISA spokesperson Pagamile Hlubi-Majola says they will engage with employers to ensure that they prioritise workers' retaining and upskilling in the face of AI adaptation.
We accept the challenge that the Deputy President has put before Labour. It's really important that workers should be at the forefront of designing and driving policy around AI. If you look at the research that's been done on AI, the reports are suggesting that as many as 85 million jobs could be lost as a result of AI by 2030. So our focus will be to expand targeted reskilling and expand learning opportunities for members, where we will be prioritizing practical job-relevant training and partnerships with training providers to ensure that no member is left behind.
The Economic Development and Tourism Portfolio Committee chairperson in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province, Mafika Ndebele, says spaza shops owners will soon be able to buy stock in bulk and much cheaper rates. Ndebele has been commenting ahead of the committee's visit to assess the success of financial spaza shop in the province, known as Zimele Traders Fund. A total budget of almost $590,000 has been set aside for this initiative, aimed at reaching 500 spaza shops throughout the province. The committee will today and tomorrow visit spaza shops in Jozini, Mandeni, Umdoni, and eThekwini as part of this joint initiative with Itala Development Finance Corporation. Ndebele says an agreement with food giant Tiger Brands as well as small farmers has been reached, and this will enable spaza shops to do business with ease.
One of the things that was raised by our traders is that foreign nationals are able to sell at a cheaper rate because they are able to buy in bulk, whereas they cannot be able to do that. We have then recommended that this Zimele trade must also include warehouse, which should be distributed across districts, where different local traders will be able to go there and get their goods very cheap. Already the agreement has been reached with Tiger Brand, including now working with certain small farmers so that they are able to bring their products in the warehouse, and then our traders are able to then access them cheap.
The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, was in camera to announce new trade and security deals between the EU and Australia after years of protracted negotiations. Now, the deal will remove the vast majority of tariffs between the two markets. Ursula von der Leyen held the moment as she addressed the Australian Parliament.
When we stand side by side, we are stronger. And this is why I am so pleased you have accepted our offer of a security and defence partnership. This is what we have just signed today, creating a new defence industrial base so that we are ready to keep our people safe.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 366. In Botswana, it's 13 Pula 50. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 59. And in Zambia, it's 19 Kwacha 48. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 Ril 28. Russia is 82 rubles 40. India is 93 rupees 52. China at 6 yuan 88. And in South Africa, $1 is trading at 16 rand 96. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,293 and platinum at $1,802 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $113.14 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nusi Posoma.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. 60 years of broadcasting Africa to the world. Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:44 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. A member of Gauteng's organised crime unit, Sergeant Faninkosi, has concluded his testimony at the Madlanga Commission after spending 6 days in the hot seat. On Monday, he testified about the substantial sum of money found in a safe at his home and claims he made about South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile meeting with Vusmuzi Kat Matlala. Now, among the evidence presented was an exchange between Nkosi and a journalist in which Nkosi requested the contact details of entertainment blogger Musa Kaula. It is further alleged that a payment of 500 Rand was made after those details were shared, raising concerns about professional conduct, confidentiality, and the boundaries between journalists and sources. We're now joined by Thandi Smith, Head of Programs at Moxie Africa, formerly known as Media Monitoring Africa, to unpack what this means for journalistic integrity. Thandi, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks very much for having me.
Now, what are your key ethical issues raised by this alleged interaction? And does accepting money in this context constitute a breach of journalistic ethics? And Thandi, before you respond to this, I just want to know the first thought that came to mind when you heard what Sergeant Faninkosi had said.
The first thought that came to mind would be this is tarnishing journalistic integrity and credibility. And we are in an era where any ethical misconduct or any mistake or credibility issue the industry cannot afford. But that is, this isn't an issue that has suddenly come up in the industry. Over the years, there have been many instances where individuals in the journalism industry, journalists, media, have been influenced and it's a typical brown envelope scenario where money is exchanged for agenda, position, influence, and in this case, sharing of sources or information. And that needs to be dealt with. There is a huge there's a huge conversation around the protection of sources that needs to be had, and it is, at the end of the day, when we look at broadly overall journalistic ethics and codes of conduct, it is the one thing that is I can't even really think of the word, but it's the one thing that journalists need to protect themselves from because of the impact that it has on credibility and trust.
And just, what do the standard journalistic codes say about sharing personal information or just contacts? And where should journalists draw the line when dealing with sources or external parties?
I think that at face value, journalists protect their sources. Where it is an instance of sensitive information, where the source could be, where it is a sensitive case where there is potential for other interference or, risk to the source, that source gets protected. On the other hand, sources of information where possible, it is a case of sources should also be known. But there's a fine line between, being transparent about sources, because we also talk about that as good journalistic practice, as good quality journalism, when media and journalists are able to be transparent about the source of their information. But that's not an instance where, that source is at risk. But in terms of sharing personal information, the minute that you associate money with that or someone being paid, there's a reason why that contact information shouldn't be shared. And we are in an environment where we do have protections around sharing of personal information. We've got the PAPIA Act, the Protection of Personal Information Act. And so, people, whether it's a journalist and media, which is one big side of it, but anyone should be very careful about sharing personal details of other people generally, let alone being paid for personal information.
Being paid for personal information as journalists, you mentioned earlier, you touched on the fact that there have been brown envelopes for quite some time now, but where do individual or journalists as a whole, where do they draw the line?
Well, no journalist should ever accept money for anything that relates to, their work, a story. If there's money being exchanged for a favor, I think that is a line. And it's there because of the supposed influence that has. You cannot remain objective if you are exchanging money for favors in the journalism industry. I think that, you know, and it doesn't even come down to, you know, actual or detail. The minute that there's a problem like this, the minute that money is exchanged for favors, there's already a public perception that that journalist is being influenced. That, you know, oh, they're just saying that because they've been paid to say it. It's you know, if we broaden the conversation, it's what we're seeing in the whole influencer industry, where influential voices that are holding space in public narrative are being paid to say certain things.
Thandi, may I ask that we impose ourselves on you just a little bit? I'd like to just do a quick break and then come back to you. Is that a possibility?
Yes, no.
Okay,
no
great
problem.
stuff. That's Thandi Smith, the head of programs at Moxie Africa, formerly known as Media Monitoring Africa. She will be back with us after this.
Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, it is that time of the day where we say a happy Tuesday to Debokhole Khuleni of the Upside team. What's coming up today?
Coming up on the Upside this afternoon, we talk about wellness travel and in the form of dancing, kizomba. Are you a fan of, have you indulged in kizomba dancing?
I have
Lulu?
not, but
Okay.
I've seen it being done, and it really looks good. And it's just
Gets the blood pumping, I tell you
Yeah,
that
it
much.
does.
And great exercise and just a great way to meet new people as well. So we'll be talking about Kizomba, the culture thereof, and how you can get involved wherever you are on the African continent. And then we talk about a new AI-powered simulation platform called Inside Red Horizon. Changing how leaders learn to make decisions under pressure. It puts people in real life situations. It's a 3D simulation, and you get to assume a role in the company. And you are thrown various scenarios, team dynamics, decisions that need to be made on the fly. And you then get measured as to how you respond under pressure and the impact of your decisions. So I think it's going to be a great tool for leaders or people who want to get into leadership to be thrown under these proactive tools. That's all coming up on the Upside.
That's the Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Debokhole Khuleni and Matseko Musito. We continue with Thandi Smith after this.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Thandi, thank you so much for staying on with us. That's Thandi Smith, head of programs at Moxie Africa, formerly known as Media Monitoring Africa. Now, Thandi, how can newsrooms strengthen integrity and prevent similar incidents? And what steps can be taken to rebuild confidence in the media? I mean, you touched on the influencer industry where people are paid to sell a certain narrative.
The media apart from that influencer, you digital voices industry is that media journalists, are not supposed to and sign onto codes of ethics and conduct that state that they will, that you won't accept money for shaping narratives or influencing stories. And I think that is the precedent. That's the baseline. That's the standard. I think newsrooms, have a responsibility to ensure that their journalists are following those ethics and that conduct to their utmost ability. And when we have seen instances of brown envelopes, of payment being made for influence, I think that it focuses very much on the individual. It doesn't necessarily, imply that there is a newsroom culture of this sort of thing happening. But I think that it is important for newsrooms, for editors, to ensure that their journalists are practicing good ethics, and when they don't, to be held accountable for their actions. And it's important for newsrooms to then be transparent about what they are doing in response to a specific incident. And as long as, the newsroom itself, or whoever is the journalist in question is employed by or working for, the public needs to see action being taken by them, so that there is accountability and that trust can be built. I think that, as I mentioned in at the start, we are in an era where the trust in news and mainstream media continues to have significant blows. But it is critical that we still maintain or work to improve that trust relationship between the public and the newsroom. More important than ever before, we need a trustworthy, credible source of news. And I think the other point that I wanted to make is that, we often talk about objectivity and neutrality in journalism and in media. And, it's almost impossible to be completely objective, completely neutral. But as long as, that subjectivity is transparent and, that journalist and that newsroom is accountable, that's what matters. That's what matters. That's what builds quality. And again, I can't, emphasize more the transparency around journalism. When that is knocked, it has a detrimental effect on trust.
And just on the individual who is then now found or alleged to have, found themselves in a situation like what was seen at the Madlanga Commission, what then happens to the individuals, and what has happened before when it comes to brown envelopes and evidence being found that it is the case?
I think that it depends on, I suppose it's a case-by-case basis. If laws have been broken in the process, then the law needs to take its course. If laws, have not been broken, then again, it should follow newsroom employment processes, and it is up to the institution to decide on the action that needs to be taken. I think that if action isn't taken, that says a lot about the integrity of the newsroom itself. But I think it should be in response to the issue at hand. I don't think there's one blanket answer for everything. It is a case-by-case basis.
Thandi, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That's Thandi Smith, Head of Programs at Moxie Africa, formerly known as Media Monitoring Africa, joining us on the line. And that's how we wrap Africa Updates. Let's do this again tomorrow and continue with us on all our social media platforms. Bye-bye.
Stay tuned to Channel Africa.